Hey guys, welcome to the engine episode 5 of the Yamaha R1 build, which is going on at an alarming pace. Today we have an audience, so you're going to get
Alarmingly slow pace.
you're going to get some background noise, yapping, all of that. I hope you enjoy it.
Especially from the owner.
I'll give one mic there only, so that you can listen to them yapping. So we have all of the parts that we are going to work on today laid out. We have the chassis, swing arm, the tail section, front end, rear suspension, front suspension, discs. The wheels have come; they look very nice. I will show that to you. What we are going to do today is assemble the front end, put the swing arm in, put the tail in, so the bike can then be on a paddock and it will actually start looking like a motorcycle and not a bunch of parts. So let's get started with that. So we've got the front end assembled. You just saw me assemble the steering bearing. Now one of the important things to note is when you talk about front end alignment, a lot of motorcycles come to us with complaints of the front end not being aligned or the bike which is pulling to one side. That usually happens because this is your top and bottom triple tree, and these are not linked together in any way. These are just bolted together. So it's a possibility that these might twist. I'm exaggerating the twist here, but what happens is if you have a fall or if you collide or if you're changing the bearings and it's not fit the right way, these can twist out, which means that both of your forks are going to be twisted like that. Because of that, your wheel is not going to be centrally aligned, and that causes skew somewhere here and there. Now, apart from an accident or a collision or a fall, if you're installing the steering bearing and this issue arises, this usually happens because of the following scenario. So with the bottom end set, you saw me put nuts there which sets the bottom end and the steering tension. You can set steering tension as per your wish. If you want a hard steering, you can do that. If you want a light soft steering, you can do that based on how the steering is. The manual obviously has a certain recommendation. After that, you put the top plate and then there's a nut on top which is called a steering stem nut, and that has to be torqued to a certain value. Now if I want to tighten this, you can see the whole steering stem is turning, right? Now the stop on the steering is always on the bottom. Now if I torque this, what is going to happen is it's going to twist. See that? So if I put it to one side and then I torque the nut, this is going to twist. To do it the right way, we need to hold it in the center, put the forks in so that the forks hold both of the plates in place, and you hold it from the top. I'll show it to you in detail once we actually assemble the front. Now that this is done, what we are going to do is we are going to lift the whole chassis up, put a triple tree here so that this is held high up, and put a jack on the bottom and start assembling the swing arm with the swing arm bearings. Exciting thing, we have to cut the chain. Mrigendra has put his allotment that he is the one who wants to do that. Get him gloves, glasses. His face is not worth protecting, but still I don't want a lawsuit on my name. Swing arm nahi kaat dena. नहीं यहाँ पर एक दूसरा डस्ट कवर बैठता है विघ्नेश. Yeah, there's a thrust cover. See, collar on this side there's a cover, number 6, thrust cover. The thrust cover goes here. Come close. You can see inside these are needle bearings. These come inside all swing arms. If you have a motorcycle, there will be a set of bearings inside the swing arm as well. It will have a sort of collar like this. These bearings need to be greased. They will be greased once at the start of their life cycle, and then they periodically need to be greased. These bearings were in good shape, so we have not changed them. We have greased them, put in fresh grease, packed them well. We have changed as oil seal on this side. We have changed that oil seal. Also on the swing arm you have your chain slider like that. This is a chain slider, so this is basically protecting your swing arm from the chain itself. The chain is very hard metal. It spins at a very high speed. You can consider the chain as a chainsaw basically. Without the protector or the wrong tension, the chain will rip the swing arm apart. So you need to periodically check your swing arm. What I would say is, if you have a liter class motorcycle, I would look at your swing arm bearings every 30,000 kilometers or every 4 years or so. So that's a reasonable amount of time where the bearing sort of get bad grease, gets dirty, gets dry. So getting the swing arm out, removing, cleaning, putting in fresh grease, putting it back, it's pretty straightforward. We're going to mount the swing arm now. We started the day a bit late. We're going to mount the swing arm now. We've re-greased linkage bearings. So these are your linkages. This is basically what connects your shock to the swing arm and the chassis. These linkages also have a bunch of bearings and seals inside them. This linkage, as you see, has had a decent bit of damage at some point because maybe someone ran it with loose nuts and bolts and everything, and there's a decent bit of damage on these linkages. The problem is we had ordered bearings and seals which have not come. Luckily the bearings are still salvageable, so we will reuse them. I wanted to get rid of this and put a new piece in or maybe machine this, but it has not come, so we cannot do much about that. This is not at a lethal stage. If we torque everything to spec, make sure everything is okay, then we shouldn't have a problem. We're going to put the swing arm in place so that we'll be able to put a paddock. We'll try to put the rear shock as well, so we will have a functioning sort of a chassis right now, and then we continue work on this tomorrow. We'll be putting forks back in, wheels and everything. You'll see in the video. So this is some copper grease from Croon Oil. Copper grease can act as a great anti-seize. So there are some threads here which the swing arm pivot shaft runs over. I'm just going to put some copper grease over there. If you can see from here, the swing arm basically is loose inside the frame, right? What is now going to happen is, we are not just going to put a nut there and torque it. We are first going to tighten the swing arm from this side onto the chassis. It slides in much better with the copper grease. Yeah, so just like the frame adjusters that you saw in the Daytona video, there's also a swing arm adjuster. We use that to hold the swing arm in place and then we torque it down. If we don't use the right settings, it's again going to flex the frame and we're going to have a cracked frame. On this, we cannot afford to do that. This is torqued at only 7 Newton meters because it's not a tightening setup. It's only there for setting the swing arm in place. So go, and that's it. On the swing arm, there's this nut that goes, which locks the swing arm shaft nut in place. This nut is supposed to be torqued at 65 Newton meters. As it turns out, there's a special tool which is needed for this. We thought we had the special tool, but we don't. So I will have to get that tool manufactured. We will get it made, no problem, not a biggie. We do that from time to time as special tools are a necessity in most modern motorcycles. So we'll get that tool made. Thankfully that won't stop our work. The swing arm pivot shaft nut is very accessible from the outside. So even if the bike is fully assembled, we can still torque it. We just have to make sure that we don't ride the bike unless that is torqued. So what Rushi is going to do is he's going to put a tape there and write that that nut is loose. So I'm going to put that in. I'm going to put the nut on the other side. That's that. I don't need to do anything to that right now. We'll torque it at the very end. We can continue with the rest of the process. Right. So this is the shock absorber. We are not going to use this for a long amount of time. We have some quality components, suspension components ready for the motorcycle, but we have some plans for that. We are not going to put that on right now. It's going to come on at a later stage. So for now, this shock goes back in. All right.
देखा आपने लापरवाही का नतीजा है।
So it's starting to turn up like an actual motorcycle now. Let's continue tomorrow. Welcome back to day 2. We've started work. We are starting with the linkage at the bottom. As you see, Vignesh has started to work on it already. Linkage is in place. Everything is greased and everything. We're putting it back to torque. We'll then put the subframe, and then we are thinking whether we should put the harness first or we should do the engine first. The bike right now is pretty weightless, so if I just one second, yeah, if I move, you can see it's very easy to shake. So I don't know if I want to do the engine first or if I want to first put wheels and suspension and get the bike a little bit weighted so it's stable. I'll probably put the subframe, a little bit of the harness, and then we'll do the engine. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's what the state right now is. Next, Vignesh, subframe.
Do we need to route the wire from down?
Underneath, no. Wiring harness sits on top of the subframe. ऊपर से बैठेगा वो. So subframe bolts have Loctite. You get the subframe. This is a Torx, Vignesh, most likely 45 or 50. 45 it looks like. और उसकी बैटरी खराब हो गई है. मार्कर. We can start with the wiring harness on the rear, or we can put the engine up and then do the whole wiring together. वो एडजस्टर कैसा है इधर, क्या है,
वो सेम
बैठ रहा है,
हाँ.
चेक किया,
हाँ.
परफेक्ट.
हाँ, उससे खोला मैंने.
अच्छा ठीक है, चलो सॉर्ट. दोनों ना,
दोनों.
ठीक है, तो फिर इंजन चलाते हैं. एग्जाम्पल ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स दैट वी फेस व्हेन वी ट्राई टू मेंटेन मोटरसाइकिल्स द राइट वे व्हेन दे हैव बीन वर्कड ऑन बाय गॉड नोज व्हाट. सो I'll quickly show you the manual which has the engine mounting sequence. It says engine mounting adjusting bolts. I'll show you what they are. Engine mounting bolt, rear upper side, rear lower side, engine mounting collar front left side. So engine mounting collar, that is number one. Engine mounting collar front left side. All of that is okay. I have all of these. Everything here is proper till we come to engine mounting collar on the right side. Okay, so as you see, there's a bolt here, there are two collars here, and there's a spacer in between. So I'll quickly show you what's going on. This is the chassis. This right here is the engine mount of the front right side. Now you see here, this is the collar that was supposed to be inside, and if you see, it has a concave end to it. For that concave end, there's a collar here which is a convex. So this goes inside like this, and when you tighten it, it ensures that the bolt is central through the frame, right? So you need two of these, one here, one on the other side, and when it squeezes, when these two collars will squeeze, it will ensure that the bolt goes through the right way. Now here's the problem. Our bike did not come with this bolt which is marked number 3. Our bike came with this, which is an engine slider kit. It's not bad quality, it's pretty heavy duty, heavy quality, but the people who installed it made a substantial mistake. When they got the stock bolt out to install the frame slider, they lost the collar which is supposed to go on the inside. Now we knew about this and we did place an order for that part. We did not receive it. I don't think we are going to receive it. The good bit is that the front mounting bolts of an engine are usually supporting bolts. The majority of the work is done with the rear, and even on the front we have the left engine mount, which is perfect. The right engine mount which is pretty much good because we have one collar which is still going to position the bolt. Keep in mind this collar, this little thing is there just to position the bolt central to the chassis, nothing else, right? We have that. Once we have that, we can then still go ahead and mount the engine. We reused the old part, but we got some more parts from Yamaha, in which the thrust cover has come. So now we'll have to take the swing arm out again, put it back. It's not a big thing, but it's a very it's a small little thing. But that tells me that I need to go through the list again and see what all parts we've got. Meanwhile, we are prepping the engine to put it back up into the frame. We've got the plugs out. We should be getting the plugs today. We are changing the coolant pipes, so a bunch of the coolant pipes. This pipe has been changed, as you saw. A bunch of coolant pipes, a bunch of sensors. We've got a few sensors that we have to change on the bike, on the engine. So we are working on doing that right now. All the pipes and new clamps and all of these pipes will be changed. They'll be put fresh, new, before we load the bike up. It's about noon now. So the plugs should be here in a couple of hours. We are going to finish all of the engine work by then, put the plugs in, coil in, and then fit the engine to the bike.
Here we go.
We are done with all the cooling system change. All of these, as you can see, pipes and everything are new. This, if you remember from the first few episodes, we had a big problem here with the O-ring. That's got a new O-ring. All of these pipes are new. All the coolant pipes on the engine are new. We've done with changes, all of that. I have two more changes to do. We are waiting on the spark plugs to come from Yamaha. They should be here soon. Once they are done, new plugs in, coils on top, and the engine will be mounted onto the frame. We have a neutral switch sensor, which is bad, and we have a camshaft timing sensor that is also bad. So we will be changing both of them. This is the sensor, as you can see, completely gone. To give you guys an idea, the new sensor is for 3768. Brand new sensor, looks great. There's an O-ring that goes here. We have that O-ring also. Red assembly grease on the O-ring, just like that. The old sensor, nothing wrong with this sensor, but this is a pretty vital sensor. Considering it's a very, very old motorcycle, we don't know the condition of this sensor, and since the condition of the wiring harness was bad, we decided to replace it anyways, just so that the rider has a reliable motorcycle. The plugs that we were waiting for from Yamaha finally came in, and they brought some bad luck because the mics that I had completely stopped working and I have no audio on the rest of the clips that we shot that day. Yamaha for some reason sent us 2 plugs instead of 4, so we installed them in the 2 outer banks, cylinder 1 and 4, because cylinder 2 and 3 will be easily accessible even when the engine is on the bike. In the rest of the day, we mounted the engine up onto the frame. I had documented the whole process of how to do that, but with no audio, there's just no point. You can see it in the time lapse. That's it for this episode. In the next episode, there's a shit ton of stuff that we are going to go through. A lot of stuff has happened and the bike is going to look a lot more like a real motorcycle. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.